What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Eagles on the Air, the podcast brought to you straight from the Salesian High School broadcast studio. I'm your guest, Steve Sallustio. I'm excited to have our guest with us today. Our guest is none other than a graduate of the class of 2012. He's got a great story. I'd like to, without further ado, introduce Mr. Mike Capozzi. Mike, welcome to Eagles on the Air.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm sorry, but you're the man, but we're gonna get to this later, but you're the man usually in the background right now.
Yeah.
This is your first time out in front of the camera.
It is.
I am excited, pumped to see what you're gonna give to us today.
All right, man.
All right, so without further ado, you know the rules. Mike, what is your Salesian story? What brought you here? What has your journey been like? Anything that you'd like to give all of us?
Yeah. So first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It is fun being in front of the camera for once. I gotta say, usually we are behind the camera, but jump right into it, right? So my Salesian story started the summer going into 6th grade. And it was when I was dropped off here as a camper for Camp Echo Bay. And I remember just the first time I was dropped off, got out, looked around me. I think I was here the second week, so maybe I wasn't here when it began. But what I really realized was that, to me at least, as going into 6th grade, everyone was just having fun. And you look around, there was kids either playing kickball, they were playing foursquare. There was kids playing basketball where the Weekend Center used to be. So prior to the Weekend Center being built, there was just basketball courts there. And I guess to me as a 6th grade, as a 6th grader, it was a place where I felt at home. I felt really at home, felt this is a place where I can be, make some friends, call it a day. But to me, it just felt like a place I was at home. And I enjoyed it so much, grew a lot of relationships with the counselors who I learned that they were actual Salesian students, given their service, throughout the time at Salesian, that they were there as camp counselors in training. And I enjoyed it just so much, truthfully. I returned back going into 7th grade. I returned back going into 8th grade. It was just a place where I felt at home being at Salesian. And fast forward a little bit to 8th grade now. I arrived at my elementary school, St. Clair's in the Bronx, and on my desk one morning there was a little brochure, and it was, how do I put it? It was, if you excel at math and science, the Math Leaders program is probably right for you. Apply at Salesian High School. And during my time at St. Clair's, I really excelled in math and science, loved it, my favorite subjects. And for me, I was oh, it's a no-brainer. Let me actually apply. Salesian's a great school. I enjoy it. And submitted my application, math and science, everything from there. And I remember receiving a call so that I can do an in-person interview. And as an 8th grader, it really struck me. I wasn't expecting to do an in-person interview. And even at the time of, they actually asked to interview my parents as well, one of my parents. So I'll remember the application process submitted, they asked for an interview. We show up here one day, it's me and my mom. And I think I went first. It might have been first or second. But I remember I gave my interview, and I guess just to segue this and to show a lot of what the Salesian story is, a lot of what my time here was being made to feel comfortable in very uncomfortable situations. And I think a lot of that is started with, I would say, the interview process, because as an 8th grader, I'm just not used to being interviewed, right? What am I supposed to say? What are they looking for? And I went through my whole thing. Afterwards, my mom went through hers, and we're coming home on the way home, and my mom was saying, oh, I was in the chapel at the time while you were doing your interview, and it just felt so safe, to me. I felt I was at home. And it really resonated with me. She said the same thing. She felt she was at home, where she was, who she was around. It really struck me. A few months later, I come to learn that I was actually accepted into the first class of math leaders. And they held a dinner. I think it was either July or August. It was before orientation as a freshman. And they held a dinner for all of the math leaders at the time. And the benefactor of my scholarship for the math leaders, Mr. Carlos Arredondo, he said to all of us, he's okay, you all received this award. I would like for you all to just go around the room and introduce yourself. And I was the first one up. And I was at my chair. I was hey, my name's Michael Capozzi. I came from St. Clair's in the Bronx. I'm really excited to be here. And one by one, we all went around the table. We all introduced ourselves. The key there was that I was sitting down as the first person to introduce myself. So after all of us went, Carlos then said, okay, guys, you've all introduced yourself. I would like you all to now stand up and introduce yourself. And so immediately just like struck me. I was like, oh wow, like this is where like I have to like now show that I'm a leader. I have to actually get up, present myself in front of everyone, and go from there. And boy, was I nervous, but I'm being made to feel comfortable in very uncomfortable situations. It was my first like really like foray into like Salesian, like actually learning to like know who my classmates were. And from there, school started, and here we are. I'd say like that's getting to Salesian, I'd say.
Yeah, and you know what strikes me so much when we have guests on the podcast is how much and how in detail you guys that graduated from here remember things. Like they're ingrained in you. Like just to talk about, okay, introduce yourself. Now stand up and introduce yourself. It's amazing how much you guys remember those fine details about your high school education. And against, I guess those things that are like were super important to you at the time. And it turned out to be, well, first of all, you came here at a very interesting time for me. You came here, I was still a classroom teacher. I was still teaching in the math department. That was 2008, 2009, that school year. By the time you graduated, I had transitioned into my role downstairs in the admissions office. So I got to watch you work in the classroom. I got to watch you as the guy that I needed to help be an ambassador to future students.
Yeah.
But you came with a tremendous group. Okay, I heard, as all the other teachers did, about this great new program we had, the Math Leaders Program. And as teachers, we didn't know much about it. We probably knew as much as the students knew. But way back in 2008, we heard that students that excel in math were going to be offered the full scholarships. They were going to take excelled math classes. They were going to go to some Ivy League school college visits. And like I said, you came with a great group. And before you go on more detail with your story, I just want to give those guys a shout out. David Lanza has come back to Salesian High School, graduated here with you, Math Leaders Program, has come back here and has been instrumental in the founding and the running of our robotics club and our robotics teams. All right, David has been tremendous for us, him and his dad, Joe. Next, we had Nick Camacho, who when I was a teacher here, I thought Nick was just this all-star goalie in the soccer team. Right? I know he was a great soccer player.
Great, well-rounded player.
Really, one of the guys that when you think of Salesian High School, 19 years in, Nick Camacho comes to my head right away. Graduated from Salesian's Math Leaders Program, took a scholarship to go study at Columbia University. It's taken him to Duke University. Nick has done great things, come back here to speak at our National Honor Society inductions. Great. And another guy I want to bring up is Tevin Smith. Probably of the group, Tevin, maybe David, probably two of the quieter guys.
Yeah.
But Tevin played on the basketball team. I remember it like it was yesterday. Obviously graduated here, Math Leaders Program, tremendous average. Came back here. I called him up one time and said, Tevin, I really need someone to speak at our scholarship recipients dinner. I don't even think I finished the sentence. With his deep voice, I'm in.
Yeah.
And he gave a speech that I will never forget. I still have it recorded, Tevin. If you want it, I could send it to you. But I remember something about that speech. Parents left Salesian High School when he was talking about his experience, crying.
Wow.
Right? So, what a great group of guys. I love talking about them.
You know, something interesting about that group of guys, too, is that I went to grammar school with none of them. And it was one of those situations where, once again, like I was entering into a new phase of my life from like, grammar school to high school, and I wasn't really surrounded by my friends at the time. A lot of my friends went to different schools throughout the area. But for me, I was like one of the only kids to go to Salesian. So like, even like that group of guys, like you just mentioned, I have such like lifelong relationships with each of them that I hadn't met them prior to entering the school.
Yep. And that's what this whole thing is all about. And we try to tell people that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the only way I think they really believe us is by talking to people like you. And it happened to you. You lived it. Yeah. And now I don't want to say who was and who was not influential on your Salesian High School career. I unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to teach you.
Yeah.
I wish I did. But three people come to my mind, and I'm hoping that I strike a chord with one, hopefully all three of them.
Go ahead.
Sister Barbara Wright, long time assistant principal here at Salesian. Jerry Caleo,
Wow. Yeah.
who was a guidance counselor here, as after he retired with his work in the Yonkers School District,
Yeah.
came to Salesian High School as a guidance counselor, and then was a counselor specifically to
Yeah.
you math leaders. And John Giuliano,
Great guy.
one of my mentors coming here as a math teacher.
Yeah.
Like you said, great guy. I think 2 words that sum up John.
Yeah.
So Sister Barbara, John, and Jerry.
Really, but all three of them, they were all like really impactful to my life, truthfully. So Sister Barbara and Jerry Caleo were actually the 2 people to interview me as an 8th grader. They were the first 2 like administrators I ever dealt with at Salesian, and they just made me feel just so comfortable in the questions they ask, how they approach everything from there. John Giuliano, amazing, truthfully amazing. At that same dinner where I buffed up my first, go around of introducing myself, he at that dinner asked everyone at the table a question, and it was a simple math question. All of us got it wrong. Like all of us got it wrong. And so like we're all just like, oh wow, like are we really math leaders? But like he really did it on purpose because he offered us like I think it was a trig question. But we were just going in as freshmen, like you're learning algebra, you're not learning trigonometry. And he was always like such a proponent of saying like I'm gonna like challenge you. Like I'm gonna challenge you, you're gonna learn a lot. It may not be easy, but that's the whole point. Like you're supposed to learn. It was really like really impactful, all 3 different like walks of life.
Yeah, and we were lucky to have them here at Salesian High
Yeah.
School for so long. And I learned a ton about, I still see Jerry at Immaculate Conception. He's I see him on Sundays at the church. And just Sister Barbara and John have been instrumental on my life and my professional career here at Salesian too. So, all right. So tell me, walk me through. You had a great 4 years here. All right.
I did.
But you also participated in a whole bunch of stuff.
There was so much stuff I participated in. A lot of it was presented to me as part of like either the honors program or like, as being part of the honors program or even part of like the math leaders at that point. I participated in a lot. I was on the bowling team. That was from sophomore year through junior year. I'm sorry, sophomore year through senior year. I was part of the band, part of the marching band at the time. I started with trumpet in sophomore year, then took up the tuba in junior year and senior year. Was president of the band in senior year. And then also National Honor Society. Yeah, like there was just so many things to list, so many different extracurriculars. But the good thing is, I gotta say, like I don't think I would have done most of them unless I was actually here. Just because of how accessible they were, how like easy, like there was no barrier of entry. You didn't have to necessarily be like an expert in the field. Everything was accessible, and everything was, of course, after school. So I mean, made it easy for all of us here as like students, and teachers like who ran the clubs. But yeah, no, participated in a lot, I gotta say.
Yeah, and I know that I know that you made a lot of people way back when at I know it's called St. Clair's, St.
Yeah.
Francis Xavier right now. But I know that way back when, because I remember taking you to
went
St.
together.
Clair's with me to go on a recruiting visit.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking through the list. I said, I need a good guy from St. Clair's. I'm like, oh, because back then I wasn't doing the job just for a year or so. I said, oh, Mike went to St. Clair's. Let's get him coming. And they were so happy to see you that day. All right, so let's move on just a bit. Yeah. You graduated from here. Yeah. You went to...
I went to Manhattan College. So after Salesian, I went to Manhattan College, now university, graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering. And I guess to your point of mathematics here, it's going to be fun. I graduated with a concentration in applied mathematics. I guess I just took way too many courses throughout my time at Manhattan. They just gave it to me. So I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I graduated from there. During my time as a junior, I started working at Apple in Ridge Hill. Developed a real good passion of mine for like technical troubleshooting and a lot of like problem solving. Stayed at Apple for about a year after college, transitioned over to Tishman Construction, which is a construction management firm in New York City. From there, I was working as a project manager for their mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. So it's called an MEP project manager. And for there, I really like honed in on my skills, I'd say, for like large scale logistics and project management. And now where I'm at currently is, I say, for the latter of the past 6 years now, too, with a little bit of overlap at Tishman, I've been able to marry like everything I've learned at Apple and Tishman into my current role of head of operations for Why Not You Media. So it's been a fun journey post Salesian.
It sounds exciting, and I love these. I love, first of all, I love when I see all you young guys come back that were at least students while I've been teaching or working here and doing well. That's number one for us, for me, for all your teachers and anybody that had a part in your education growing up. Your success, it makes what we do feel valid.
Yeah.
And so just want to circle back, and then we're going to move ahead. We got a little bit more to do. You speak of the math leaders, and it was such a prestigious program. But I have to admit, on the educational side and the logistics side here, things change. And so Math Leaders was a great program, and we ran it for about 12 years. My calculations, looking at some yearbooks, I think 12 years the program
Yeah.
was up and running. And we were able to, in that time, attract some of the best students from some of the best schools
Yeah.
in our area. That's changed a little bit because if you've been following Salesian, if you're watching the podcast or just listening to or seeing anything we put out on social media, we've undergone a major facelift in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Part of that included a beautiful STEM center on the 4th floor, one floor above where we are right now. And so we wanted to marry all this beautiful construction with the right courses to take in those beautiful classes
Yeah.
with some clubs, but we want to still attract some of the best kids.
Yeah.
So we started to offer the same kind of full scholarship program and let the kids study STEM. I feel like that's something that you would have benefit
Yeah.
from as well.
Yeah, no, truthfully, I think a lot of what I've taken away from like the Math Leaders program is not necessarily like the math portion, but just like the leadership portion.
Sure.
I think a lot of what I've been saying is, I've been made comfortable in very uncomfortable situations, and I think leadership is a really big quality of that. Everything that I've been taught here has always been taught to lead others and to, be an example for others. So it's a really valuable skill. I believe that if they only ever kept it to just the Math Leaders program, would have been something just too exclusive. I think everyone at Salesian deserves to learn a little bit more. And I know like working with you over the past 2.5 years, I've even seen like the changes in the school. And it's gone to the point where there were math courses offered current day where I wasn't even offered those as a math leader. And it's crazy because like the school's improving, not necessarily like, like as you said, you're restructuring the program, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're taking away anything. You're just making it more accessible to everyone else.
Absolutely. And we've gotten good feedback from it and great students, of course.
Yeah.
And again, we just want to continue to push forward. One of the first guests, if not the first guest on the Eagles on the Air podcast was Father Jim,
Yeah.
who had a message of moving forward, about pushing forward, staying current. And that's what we're trying to do here with the STEM Scholars program. And so far, so good. It's been great.
Yeah.
But now, look, you're not a kid anymore. You didn't have this glorious beard when you were a student here.
I tried.
Michael, just like me, you're getting older, and I have to say, probably way wiser than I. You are making a very, very successful person of yourself, and I'm happy to say that when students come back and they see us, that's great. When they come back and they're doing well, that's even better. You're helping Salesian High School through your professional work. Okay, I see you got the Why Not You Media polo shirt on, and I would love to give you guys an incredible shout out because
Thank you.
we, like I said, I started earlier in the podcast saying that you're the man behind the camera because doing these podcasts is basically your creation with Salesian High School working together. We've been filming these podcasts through your direction, and so that's why we're so happy to have you in front of the camera today.
Yeah.
But just walk me through a little bit. How long have you been with Why Not You Media? And I'm don't be shy either because I'm going to ask you how you help us. And if you skip anything,
Yeah.
trust me, I'm going to point it out because what you guys do for Salesian High School is immeasurable. And so without further ado,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what you do with Why Not You Media and how they help Salesian High School.
Gladly. So Why Not You? We started about 6 years ago. It's me and two other business partners, Francis and Tony. And really, we got together with the original goal of actually throwing events for, value-driven content for educational and the professional world, right? So like meaning you go to an event, you're not necessarily solicited, you're just, going to an event, learning something, actually gaining value from someone, of a speaker. We quickly pivoted because we realized that you need a lot of money to throw events. So what we did was we instead said, oh, well, we understand how to help people on social media. Let's like bring that to businesses and like help them see that the value of you can use social media as a business tool. And, over the past 6 years, we've been helping out different small to medium to large size businesses throughout Westchester County, tri-state, nationwide. We've been helping them brand themselves through social media, really showcasing what it is that they do offline and bringing it online for them. And a lot of it is whether it's speaking directly to a camera, very educational driven, just showing your value props to your audience. Because a lot of what people realize is that they're really missing out on their warm audience, and they're also missing out on new eyes that they could potentially see them. So for us, the past 6 years, we've really been working with a lot of different businesses, mostly in the professional services industry, I'd say, insurance, mortgage brokers, realtors. But we love the established businesses, and Salesian just one of them, right? I mean, look at it this way: the school's been open for 100 years. There's a reason for that, and I know even over the past 2.5 years working with Salesian, I've always heard Father Jim say, "We're not good because we're old. We're old because we're good." Working with the school is just having these established brands and businesses actually showcase what it is that makes them special and bringing it online. And a lot of it was in the first meeting actually with Salesian, speaking on a professional services level. I was asked, how can we get the person on the street who drives by Salesian to understand who we are? And a lot of it is just pure storytelling. We hear it from the stories of myself as an alumni, we hear it from you as an administrator, we hear it from current students, faculty, parents, whoever it may be. That's who tells the story. And so putting that out there is what you really want to see. So I think that answers the question from there.
Yeah, and I think that your help with our social media, with our marketing,
Yeah.
with keeping us organized, with working with the staff in the advancement department,
Yeah.
again, has been immeasurable. And I think if you checked out our social media today versus 3-4 years ago, you're going to say, "Wow, this school did something different."
Yeah.
And I think I think the families home, both current, prospective, past, all agree that the content that they're getting is fantastic. And I love hanging out with you and Francis and Tony, even Steve on the camera.
I do got to say though, I mean, like it becomes easy because we're not necessarily trying to manufacture anything out of Salesian. Everything that's being put out, whether it's through the videos, whether it's through the podcast, whether that's through just regular messaging, it's the truth, right? Like we say what we have here, like we are a home, we're a school, we're a parish, or a playground, but like everyone truly does believe it. It's really easy to capture that story once everyone's fully like embodied in it. And I think it's something that extends beyond the student. I mean, like I even mentioned how my own mom felt like it was a home. It's an all boys high school, like I mean, how is that home
Yeah.
to you? But she said like, oh, it's just like everyone there is just so nice, like they're just so kind to me, like it feels like a home. And I think like that's one of the easiest parts of like actually working with Salesian too, is that we're just able to just tell the story that everyone's been saying, but maybe no one knows.
Sure. And I think the word that comes to my mind is genuine.
Yeah.
I know when I speak, it's tough for me to come off genuine because my job is to sell the school as the admissions director.
Right.
But I hope that I come across as genuine because everything I talk about is true. And like you said, it's easy. And everybody
Yeah.
that we've asked to be on the podcast so far has been easy to talk to because
Yeah.
they're so willing to share their story. And it is such a genuine experience for them.
And it's nice that you're able to share different stories or different aspects of the story, and everyone has the same common theme. Where like they felt at home, they felt like this was the place for them, they were cared for. It's a common theme for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's repeated over and over, so
Yeah.
it must be true. So let's move on to the last item I have on my agenda here.
Yeah.
April 10th, 2025. Salesian High School is going to be hosting its annual President's Dinner. Michael, you are the recipient of the Don Bosco Alumni Achievement Award.
Yeah.
And I think the advancement department nailed it when we grabbed somebody who's done some extraordinary work, who's come back to help Salesian High School, who's doing great in their personal life. Mike, I think you're such a deserving recipient of this award. And may I say, the youngest recipient of this award. So a big congratulations. Anything about the President's Dinner? You excited?
Yeah, no, totally excited. I gotta say though, when I did get the call, I wasn't expecting to get this call for at least another decade. So to hear youngest, right? Like it's like such like an achievement, truthfully. And any chance that I can give back to the school, I think I've always jumped at the opportunity to do so. I just love giving back to the school, truthfully. Everything that we've done for the school, it's just like it makes it fulfilling for everything that the school's done for me as a person. I mean, like, listen, I came here for a full scholarship all 4 years. I was provided invaluable tools, invaluable mentorship, just constant things that I don't think I could have gotten anywhere else. And in order for it to all come full circle and actually be awarded for it, it's actually pretty nice. I'm very, very honored, I gotta say.
We're excited. I think it's going to be a great night. I have April 10th circled on my calendar.
Yeah.
I again, congratulations. I think you're a well deserving recipient of this award. And Mike, I think you've been a great guest.
Thank you.
You bring a very unique insight here. All right, not many guys have left, done so well for themselves, but have come back and are now working with us to promote that message. So many people ask us, well, what's your Salesian story, your Salesian story? And that's why we start every episode of this podcast off like that.
Yeah.
I want to hear from everybody. I want everybody at home to understand everyone's story, like you said, is unique.
Yes.
But I want to thank you, a big, big thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your award. And I look forward to all the work that Michael Capozzi is going to be doing with Salesian High School, as well as your work professionally with Why Not You Media in collaboration with Salesian. So, Mike, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks again. And for everybody else, thank you for watching. This has been another exciting episode of Eagles on the Air.